Room 13 presents. The hotel could hardly be called grand, yet there was something inherently stately about its derelict charm. Towering Gothic spires loomed under a perpetually overcast sky, casting formidable shadows over the cracked cobblestone driveway. Faded banners, remnants of an era long past, flapped desolately against the biting wind. Like sirens, they whispered tales of its former glory, tales long forgotten by the modern world. Emma shivered as she stepped out of her car, the wind biting through her thick coat. She had driven through countless towns, back roads, and one-way streets to arrive at this secluded inn, nestled on the edge of a gnarled forest. Stopping a few feet from its entrance, she gazed up at the once opulent structure and, for a brief moment, considered turning back. Yet, the allure of mystery, twined with the desperate craving to escape her monotonous life, rooted her to the spot. As if summoned by her indecision, the front doors creaked open of their own accord, revealing a dimly lit foyer. Emma, clutching her suitcase tightly, hesitated before shuffling inside. The sharp scent of dust and aged wood invaded her senses, each step echoing like a prelude to something unknown. The lobby lay silent, the grand chandelier overhead swayed gently, casting twisted shadows across the walls. Her attention was drawn to a worn reception desk, the varnish peeling, suggestive of stories shared in hushed tones. Behind it stood a man, gaunt and as pale as the walls around him, sporting an antiquated uniform that fit too snugly against his tall frame. "Welcome to Hollowcrest Hotel," the man croaked, his voice dry as paper. "You must be Miss Sutton." Emma nodded, swallowing the unease building in her throat. "Yes, I booked online. It said there were plenty of vacancies." "Indeed, we have rooms aplenty," replied the receptionist, sliding a brass key toward her. The tag read Room 13. Emma hesitated, and the man's thin lips curled into an unsettling semblance of a smile. "I assure you," he continued, "you'll find your stay most memorable." Emma accepted the key, its cool weight unnerving against her palm. Traversing the dimly lit corridors, she noticed the decor whispering of a bygone era. Faded tapestries, hung like solemn sentinels, and portraits of solemn-faced individuals tracked her with their eyes, as if privy to secrets she could never fathom. Room 13 awaited her at the end of a long corridor, and as she inserted the key, a chill ran through her, a subtle testament to the room's neglected history. Within, the chamber smelt of mildew and antiquity, the air stale with stories of its former inhabitants. The decor, in keeping with the rest of the hotel, was a tapestry of faded opulence. Heavy velvet curtains shut out whatever remaining light dared to invade, casting the room into perpetual twilight. Emma set her suitcase on the bed and leaned against the windowsill, peeling back the curtain to peer outside. A pallid mist carpeted the landscape, drifting ethereally through the skeletal branches of ancient trees. Her heart skipped a beat as she caught a fleeting movement among them, a shadow, joyous in its elusiveness before vanishing into the mist once more. As night deepened its hold, Emma found herself unable to dispel the sense of being watched. Each creak of the floorboards and rustle of the curtains seemed conspiratorial, whispering secrets she could not decipher. At the edge of her hearing, she thought she caught soft murmurs, disembodied voices carried on an otherworldly breeze. Determined to satisfy her rising curiosity and allay her fears, Emma ventured into the hotel's bowels later that night. The hallways seemed to stretch interminably, shifting with each turn, leading her deeper into its heart. An unease unfurled within her, a fear that she'd walk these halls forever, eternally seeking, never finding. The dull fluorescent lights flickered as she approached a door slightly ajar, light spilling into the worn carpet. She paused, and as if sensing her presence, the door swung open invitingly. Beyond lay a small library, saturated with the scent of leather and secrets. Emma's fingers brushed the spines of time-worn books, tracing their indelible histories. Pausing, she drew out a volume bound in faded green. It opened with a groan of aged paper and leather, and she found herself engrossed in the strange tales it contained. Accounts of strange happenings, unexplainable disappearances, and whispers of a room with a dark will of its own. A movement out of the corner of her eye pulled her focus. Turning sharply, she saw a figure, the very embodiment of the elusive shadow she had glimpsed earlier. A chill seeped into Emma's bones as the figure lingered on the threshold, its form indistinct, a persistently flickering glimpse of a woman in Victorian garb. "Who are you?" Emma's voice was a mere whisper, but the apparition seemed to hear it. For a moment, it hesitated, as if caught between worlds. Then it faded, like a breath dissipating into the night air, leaving Emma in trembling solitude. The hours stretched painfully as Emma sat hunched on the library floor, the book clutched to her chest. She wrestled with thoughts that clawed at the edges of sanity. They lingered, ere they were finally interrupted by the mournful cry of a distant clock, the tolling of midnight echoing through the hallways like a heartbeat. Back in room 13, sleep did not come easily. Her dreams were a tangled web of shifting corridors and spectral figures, all leading her back to the same door, heavy and foreboding. Pushing it open, she'd find only swirling darkness, a void pulling her deeper until icy fingers yanked her awake, sustaining the tenuous boundary between dreaming and waking just a little longer. Dawn offered little reprieve from the oppressive atmosphere gripping the hotel. Over breakfast, a somber affair in an equally desolate dining room, Emma scanned the few patrons present. They sat at separate tables, eyes hollowed and detached. Whispers passed like ghostly secrets she could not quite discern. Determined not to succumb to the mind-numbing enigma of the hotel's labyrinthine pull, Emma drove into the nearest town. The fresh air was a balm against the encroaching claustrophobia. In town, she sought answers, seeking clarity from weathered old-timers who whispered in hushed tones of Hollowcrest's tragic past. Rumors spoke of a tragedy long hidden, of a bride awaiting her beloved in room 13. She had withered away day by day, spun into madness by the slow, consuming knowledge he would never return. Her spirit, they said, had become entwined with the hotel's very fabric, forever waiting, forever watching. Emma returned to Hollowcrest reluctantly, each step toward room 13 laden with a heavy sense of despondency. The knowledge of her predecessor's demise seemed to taint the very air, acrid and sharp. Yet as the long night stretched on, a resolute determination settled in Emma's chest. The woman, a ghost, soul lost in time, deserved closure, if not peace. As moonlight filtered through the cracks in the curtains, she felt the energy in the room shift, the very walls seeming to lean in closer, listening. Emma scribbled frantically, pen flying across the paper, poignant words intended for the spectral bride, a promise that one's soul was never truly alone, boundless as the void may seem. She placed the letter on the windowsill, a fragile olive branch extended to the unknown. That night marked a change. Though the oppressive atmosphere remained, Emma found she could breathe more freely. Yet something deeper guided her, to the heart of the hotel, to the room where shadows pooled at her feet, a room shrouded in silence, more deafening than 1,000 screams. As the clock's echo receded, Emma found herself standing before room 14, not included on any map or chart, forsaken by logic and dismissed by time. With trembling hands, she reached for the doorknob. Ding, it yielded easily to her touch. The room was pitch dark, save for the sudden, inexplicable flash of a lantern, its flickering flame illuminating a woman standing at its center. Sadness and longing emanated from her presence, the antiquity of sorrow etched into her ghostly visage. "Please," Emma began, heart thundering in her chest. "You've waited long enough." The apparition regarded her with an infinite well of loneliness. Then, without speaking, Emma felt an overwhelming tide of grief and gratitude surge through her, washing away something ancient, hollow, and unspeakably lost. In the silence that followed, the woman smiled before the flickering lantern light devoured her entirely. Bathed in the quietude of a world now at peace, Emma stumbled backward, feeling the weight of centuries lift from her spirit, a resolution to the interminable waiting. The dawn rose clearer than before, golden light bursting through the once morose hallways, now infused with a breath of life long denied. Hollowcrest, in respect for its inhabitants' peace, remained only in fog-veiled whispers. Yet on rare occasions, when night deepened and shadows danced vividly, a visitor might feel a familiar presence, restless no longer, watched over by the spirits of room 13 as Emma drove away, finally leaving behind the somber echoes of the past. Her heart, once entangled by the place's mysteries, now found solace in new horizons, alight with the boundless possibilities of the world beyond its spectral confines. Bro,